Mike, I slowly am recovering from the letdown of the Phillies losing. I saw it coming all day Friday. I thought they were going to lose that game. I thought Halladay would pitch well, but they're not going to score enough runs. Carpenter's going to pitch well. It played out perfectly.
That's what happened. Yeah.
And I can't fault Charlie Manuel and say he made this bonehead decision. As much as I'm critical of him and don't think he's a very good manager, the only thing I'll fault him on is why not switch that lineup around a little bit, considering they're not hitting. Put Pence instead of third, fifth, to maybe allow Howard to get a fastball as opposed to what he was getting. It worked when they brought Pence over. That's where he played. And for some reason, it's better to move Utley up. Utley was hitting pretty well. Move him back to 3, put Victorino at 2, get some speed up there, and get Polanco out of the lineup. He's hurt.
Polanco is really
when he was coming up, I'd rather see a pitcher bat. They should have pinch hit Lee for him. It was horrible. What do you do about the Phillies?
I don't know what you do because as we said last week, I still believe that they were the best team in baseball this year. I still believe that winning 102 games is a lot more legitimate test of a baseball team than winning a best-of-5 series. I mean, there's no question about that. You don't know what to make of this because it's too small of a sample size. A best-of-5 series is too small of a sample size to make anything out of it. I'm going to go back and say the one thing that you're going to look back at this series is Cliff Lee having a 4-0 lead and letting it go off the hook in Game 2, which if he does what he's supposed to do, if he does 3/4 of what he's supposed to do, they win that game and sweep the series. I don't think there's any question about it, and then we're not having this conversation right now. It was, and I think people are I honestly think the public is starting to wake up to this. I don't sense as much snark and anger in Philadelphia as much as I sense sadness. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just sadness because people know that you cannot, no matter how good a ball club you have, you can't reliably expect that superiority to manifest itself in a best-of-5 series. That's just not the nature of this sport. Now, that's not to alleviate blame on the Phillies. I'm not sure what to make of it, and I'm not sure what you can do to make the team better a year from now. It's a tough spot to be in.
You say sample size. This is 2 years in a row where they've gotten matched up against a tough opponent that came in hot. They had the Giants last year that were hot. This year, the Cardinals. The sample size is a little bit bigger than just this year. It happened
and they also had it. They also had a stretch of 6 where they won 5 out of 6 postseason series.
That's a good point. That's a different sample size. But the same faults that developed the year before were this year. It was the lack of hitting and key hits, and it seems like they're trying for the long ball too much. There's too many 3-run home run hitters in there. What's the chances of Ben Francisco doing what he did? He hit the 3-run homer. They need to tweak the lineup a little bit, and Polanco maybe is not an everyday player anymore because this is 2 years in a row where the third baseman's not giving you much production and it's been hurt. You can make an adjustment in left field as well, maybe bring in somebody that's more of a contact hitter, more of a spark plug. I don't know. They need to change up.
Who though?
I don't know.
Who that gets you better?
Great to have originally. It's like, well, I'm glad we got Brad Lidge, but if they still had Michael Bourne with this team to be your leadoff guy.
Yeah.
What the Phillies are starting to really develop to me is what the 76ers were, the late 70s, early 80s, where they kept getting there and they kept losing it and you kept thinking they're going to win the title and they kept going, we owe you one. I still think the Phillies need to make that their motto. Go, we owe you one. And I think they're due for one more. They've been so close. I think they're going to be good again next year. They're going to be really competitive in this division. The Braves might wake up. The Mets might finally get a clue as well. But until then, this is the Phillies division. But I still think they're going to need to tweak third base. What do you do with Matson and Jimmy Rollins? That's a question for you. What do you do there?
I would be very surprised if they're both back. Very surprised, and it wouldn't surprise me if neither of them are back. And then obviously you got to find a shortstop, and maybe you have to fortify the bullpen. I don't know, but it's just they're an older team. I'm not as confident going forward as you are about even in the division. I think they're getting old. I think it's what we've seen with Polanco and Utley and Rollins is I think normal. And even Howard is more or less normal aging patterns. And they've spent a lot of money. It's going to be hard to extricate yourself from some of these contracts. They're in a tough spot. I still think they're good, and you're going to have those starting pitchers. I don't know how you get better.
Oldest team in baseball, 31.7. That's rounded to 32, okay?
Yep.
I think Ryan Howard's going to be out for the beginning of the season.
He certainly is not going to be, absolutely.
Mayberry at first. But then that means I think it would have been better to have him platooning or starting in left field and leave Brown in the minors until he comes up and he is hot. And people in that organization, from what you're reading now, some of the beat writers are saying they're giving up. They don't think he's as good as what they advertised.
Well, Brown's going to have to play next year.
And
I mean,
there's a guy that was at Reading that played some at Lehigh, Matt Rosati, big time. All he can play is first base. The guy's a hitter. I'd like to see them give him a chance in spring training and see if he can't. He's not a power hitter. He's going to be an average hitter. He's going to get on base. He's going to remind me a little bit of a Sean Casey type hitter, maybe a Votto, a guy that's just a really good hitter. I think he could provide a spark. Again, he's going to be a cheap alternative, and you really can't afford to put a lot of money at first base because Howard's going to make $25 million next year. There.
Yeah, tell me about it.